Hey y'all, Skullcroc here and welcome back to another video. Today I will be starting a small series looking back at the round-based maps in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. There are only 4 maps in total, which isn't a lot compared to recent CODs, but these videos are not focused on the quantity, but rather on the quality of the maps in general. So let's get started. The first map that was released for Black Ops Cold War is Die Maschine, and before I go into any great amount of detail, I just want to say this map is great and an incredibly strong start to the zombies mode that year. I'm going to break this map down into 4 categories: aesthetics, gameplay loop, wonder weapon, and Easter egg. This video will of course be subjective and not everyone will agree with what I say, but from what I've seen, Die Maschine is regarded all around as a pretty good map. The aesthetics are kind of a mixed bag for me. There are 2 main areas in the map, the snowy top side and the lab down below. I find the snowy parts of the map to be much nicer to look at than the lab parts. The snow gives it a unique characteristic that not many other zombie maps have. I'm also slightly biased in this because the snow or ice levels in video games are usually my favorites. I also can't talk about Die Maschine without talking about the Keine remake of Nacht der Untoten right next to the spawn area. It looks great with the graffiti sprayed on the walls, and the darkness requiring a flashlight is also a nice feature, though I wish it were used a little bit more. As I've already said, I don't find the lab part to be too aesthetically pleasing, and I'm not sure why. Maybe what it needed was a little bit more of a twisted atmosphere with test subjects lying around instead of just the containment room and the nuke room. With that being said, I don't think the lab looks ugly, I just think it lacks a little bit of character. Next up is the gameplay loop. The gameplay loop is the way that you unlock the map, turn on power and pack-a-punch, and how many good training spots the map has. The map can be unlocked pretty fast. I usually have one path completely open and the power turned on by round 7. There's nothing overly complicated about it, most of it is just opening doors. Speaking of opening doors, Treyarch introduced a new animation for getting rid of some doors, which is placing an explosive on them that detonates after some time. I'm honestly not a big fan of this because all the other doors open immediately, but here you just have to wait some seconds for no real reason. It does look pretty cool and makes more sense than if the rubble just disappeared immediately, but the fuse time could have been cut in half or something in that direction. Turning on the power and pack-a-punch is simple, but at the same time it's more than just flipping a switch. Once you activate the main power switch, you have to activate 2 more switches on each side of the catwalks, which will summon a portal to the Dark Ether. Enter this portal and follow the marker to one of the 2 teleportation tunnels, which will lead you to the missing piece of the pack-a-punch machine. Take it back to the pack-a-punch machine and install it, though I do believe this has to be done while you are still in the Dark Ether. Now power and pack-a-punch are both operational. This is a really great way to do this. It's more than just flipping a switch, but it's also not overly complex or drawn out like Setsubo no Shima or Voyage of the Dead. As for training spots, Die Maschine has at least 3 excellent choices. You can either run around and spawn by the airplane wing or down in the labs if you're skilled enough. The more viable training spots a map has, the better, because it adds a bit of variety to the map. I usually train and spawn, but if that becomes a bit boring, I can go to the airplane or down into the labs if I feel up for it. There's even one viable camping spot on the roof by the Wunderfizz machine, so there's something for everyone. All in all, a map with an excellent gameplay loop. The only thing that I think is bad is the fact that the perk machine's topside don't require power in order to be used, which includes Stamina Up and Juggernaut, the most powerful perks in the entire game. Let's talk about the wonder weapon, the DIE Shockwave. It's a pretty cool weapon that shoots a ball of electricity that absolutely destroys zombies in front of you, and it gains ammo back by sucking zombies into it. Not only is this weapon extremely powerful, but there are also 4 different variations: fire, ice, Nova 5, and electricity. All of these are extremely powerful, but the electricity variant is probably the most powerful. The only downside to these variants is that you need to progress quite a bit in the Easter egg in order to be able to unlock the electricity and fire ones. The ice and Nova 5 variants can be unlocked and used without having to progress at all in the Easter egg, which is quite nice. On the upside, they don't share any ammo, so if you run out of ammo for one variant, you can just switch to another and you'll be back to full ammo. While the ray gun isn't the main wonder weapon in Die Maschine, it is also a weapon that you can obtain, being one of 2 maps in Black Ops Cold War where you can wield both wonder weapons, which is awesome. Before talking about the main Easter egg, let's talk about the side Easter egg of the dancing coffin. Not only is this a pretty funny sequence, but it also gives you pretty good rewards. It has a chance to give you powerful weapons including the DIE and ray gun, but it will always give you Juggernaut, so make sure you don't waste points on that purchase. What's also great about it is that it sends you into the Dark Aether, and every time you enter the Dark Aether there are glowing crystals that you can destroy for rewards. They always respawn whenever you come back to the Dark Aether, and with no enemies around during the sequence, it's a great way to rack up some good loot. The Easter egg is good because it's not overly complicated, which I believe is important due to it being the first map in Black Ops Cold War. I won't go through the entire process step by step, but I mentioned some of the important steps. The Dark Aether plays some part in the Easter egg, but I wish the map and Easter egg had taken more advantage of it. It looks really cool, but a lot of the time you're down below in the lab where that's just not visible. Like the giant floating jellyfish and the gorgeous skybox are just not something you see a lot of from down there. Mainly it's just used to go in to fetch something or listen to some echoes and then immediately come back. In the beginning I thought it was annoying that you had to get every single one of the wonder weapon variants to advance in a step, but I don't mind it anymore because getting the variants isn't that difficult. It is pretty cool that one of the steps is reversing the zombification and giving a Megaton his thoughts and consciousness back. The ending fight is also pretty cool because of how hectic it is, but it kind of feels like the Megaton you have to protect doesn't take much damage at all. The ending is also phenomenal, where you have to escape to the extraction point while energy flares come out of the ground blocking certain ways so that you have to stay on your toes. With all that being said, it does feel extremely weak without an intro or ending cutscene, it just kind of ends with some voiceovers. All in all, Die Maschine is an excellent start to Black Ops Cold War Zombies mode and a map that I still like going back to even with all the other content that has been released since. It even plays much better now than it did back then, since you can now actually pack-a-punch the wonder weapon, which you couldn't do before. I also remember the Megaton being a huge pain to take down without score streaks. The Plague Hounds are, however, still as annoying as they were back then, because they have a pretty extreme lunge attack that almost never seems to miss, and Tesla Storm doesn't seem to stun them at all. What do you think of Die Maschine? Do you agree that it's a very strong start, or do you think that the map was just mediocre overall? Let me know in the comments below and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time.
Good work, Strike Team. We've closed the breach. But I got a feeling Omega Group is just getting started.